Hello.
Hello, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Have you had a good week, girls?
Yes.
Good.
What have you been up to? What have you been up to, Debbie?
Well, you know, I can't even begin to tell you. I've been looking after things for my daughter, spent a whole day doing absolutely nothing, just trying to run around and put things in a box. Dee knows, Natalie knows. It's
yes.
ridiculous. But anyway, I'm now back.
Hey.
Hey. It was International Thunderbirds Day on Monday.
Yay.
Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic. Happy
International Thunderbirds Day, International Rescue.
Where's your outfit, Dee?
Oh, I know. I should have put it on.
Yeah.
But yes, but never mind. Never mind. I'll do the Lady Penelope voice.
Who have we got today? Who's our guest?
Oh yes. Okay. I won't introduce her as Lady Penelope, but it's the most amazing author called Sharika Chauhan.
Hello.
Hi.
Sharika, it's lovely to see you.
Thank you. You too.
I'm very impressed with everything that you're doing and done, and it's just amazing because you're really an inspiration.
Oh,
so do tell us about where does it all begin? Just tell us everything.
Where do I start? Do you know what? It's really weird because this idea of this children's book only came beginning of this year. So I was working in finance for like 16 years in financial services. I had
You don't look old enough. You look about 7.5 yourself.
That's true. You do.
Actually, I know I've got young genes. Thank you to my parents, but I'm Indian heritage definitely helps, I think.
Yeah.
I'm 38, so you know, I'll take 7.
Yeah, 38 might be the body age, but 7 is probably the real age, because I'm only 5.5. Natalie is 3. Dee could be possibly 7, and I don't know. I think Annie might be the grown up here.
True.
You guys look all fabulous, by the way. So
Thank you.
Likewise.
You're that much different in age than I am, buddy. But yeah, no, I had this. I was working in finance for 16 years. I had an executive COO role. I co-founded a fintech startup. I'd kind of worked in operations and infrastructure and setting up new businesses and investment firms, all the hedge funds, all the sometimes glamorous but not glamorous side of finance. And then I loved traveling in between that. So I always took some time out to do travel, but like adventure travel, not just going on holiday in an all-inclusive. For me, it was like getting out there with my backpack, you know, going to a slightly underexplored destination. Hence my first 4 books that I've got out is Brazil, Japan, Nepal, and Malaysia, and Borneo. So they're quite adventure places. And I'd go for like a good 3-4 weeks or 5 weeks. So I was in Malaysia in the beginning of this year, or actually Thailand and Malaysia. I went to Thailand in December and spent Christmas and New Year's there with my friends. I went to an awesome festival. And then I kind of just did my own thing and carried on and hopped around the Malaysian peninsula and then went to the Bornean jungles and so on. And it was on a coast journey in Malaysia. And I was by myself and I was just thinking, oh, it'd be really cool to write about my travels. And so I always thought, oh, okay, you know, I'll write it as like some adult memoir thing. And then I thought, and within 10 minutes, I was like, actually, why don't I do it through a fictional child character called someone who's going to be a strong, bold, fearless Indian girl, and it's going to be on her. Kind of a bit like me, you know, similar qualities, similar type of traits, but she's a young girl, there's no age to her, and she goes around with this backpack, and then it can, if I do it for the young age group, then it can inspire the younger generation that they can also do this when they're older, and whether they want to do it with their family, they want to do it with friends, or they want to go solo, just to give that kind of inspiration. And the idea behind that, and this all happened within like 15 minutes in my mind, the idea behind that was, I, as in South Asian, my background is South Asian heritage, and as an Indian, born here in Britain, but with an Indian parents who got kicked out from East Africa in the 1970s and came to Britain. You know, we were all about growing up here, it was still about family, and it was still quite traditional. Over the years, I guess we became a bit more modern to fit into culture here, but we were still traditional. And so like me starting this, my first travels and going to Brazil when I was 19 was a bit of a shock to my parents, because they were like, why are you going? Why are you backpacking? Why are you going by yourself? That's really risky. And generally, when I spoke to my extended family, they didn't really quite understand why I was doing or what I was doing. So it's also breaking down that cultural barrier that we have. I speak to a lot of my friends who are British-born Asians, and they just don't go solo traveling, or they wouldn't do adventure travel like I did. They kind of wanted to get on with their career, go to university, get on with their career, find a husband, get married, have children. And so now they've had that gap of, I've not had a chance to even do any of what you've done to that. So that it was all of that kind of inspiration and all, everything I've just explained. It was a burst of like kind of creative idea within no longer than 20 minutes, really. And that's when the idea got born, literally.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is about ideas or anything like that is there's no time, is there? Because we're now going to get very philosophical and into all of this stuff. But you know, time expands, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can see someone, you think, oh, I've only got half an hour with them, and yet that half an hour is probably more beneficial than 5 hours with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I always think that time stretches, and especially with an idea like that probably in another dimension, because we're going to get all woo now, is probably weeks and months and years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you put your idea into action. I mean, you have an idea, but you've actually implemented it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I can relate to that as a born, West Indian Caribbean culture. I was born in England, and I'm like, but I'm very West Indian in my upbringing, and we're very traditional. My grandmother particularly was like very still traditional West Indian, and to go, oh, I'm going out and wearing holes in my jeans and doing this. Like, I'm doing hip hop. She's like, oh my god.
Oh. I was born in Malaysia, and I had all these pictures conjured up when you were talking just then, and all my childhood memories are just how it was the most amazing childhood. My dad was a headmaster. All his teachers that worked with him, they were of all cultures. So the whole thing about racism and everything, everybody was together, and it didn't matter what religion you were or where you worshipped, at a temple or to a synagogue or wherever you were. Everybody had a damn good meal afterwards. Everybody came together, and it was the most amazing childhood. Malaysia's incredible, and it is the food capital of the world, isn't it?
It really is, and like all throughout the books. I mean, I'm a bit of a foodie. I mean, when I say foodie, I just like to eat. And I don't like cooking, but I like trying different cuisines. Every time I go to any country that I visited, I always have their local speciality dish. I'll try at the beginning, I'll try in the middle and the end of my trip, as much as I can. And so I bring that into the character, and I bring that into the books as well, because like durian fruit, for example, in Malaysia is so popular there. I didn't like it, but I'm also very honest to be like, there are dislikes and likes that Maya has. There are obstacles and things that she's so scared of doing, but she overcomes them and does it anyway. For example, in Himalayas, she's, brushing her teeth, and, she loves all the Nepalese food and she tries everything. But the one day she's brushing her teeth and she sees the biggest spider just watching and staring at her. And she's like, absolutely not, like crazy. So you do bring in a lot of like, it's not just her adventures aren't just amazing all the time. Like she does have like, oh God, I'm not sure about this. And I've lost my camera's falling into the sea, or my translation book is lost, so I can't speak Portuguese, and all sorts of things happen. But it always centers around food as well, because it's such a big part, like being like an Indian, being Indian, like all family used to gather together every weekend, and we used to cook and eat.
I was reading about you, Sharika, and you had a couple of near misses, didn't you, on your travels? Please tell us. It sounds so terrifying.
It was terrifying. So what the first one, I guess my first big trip was Brazil. And so it's one of the books in my of the four that I've done. So I was only young. I was like 18 to going 19, and I'd gone with a friend, but we had done our own thing and then kind of met up at different destinations just to kind of catch up, and then we'll do our own thing again. And we met up at this beautiful beach in Praia de Pipa, which is on the kind of northeast coast of Brazil. It's stunning, and I can't wait to go back. I've actually got a friend out there who's just moved there, so I'm gonna go and visit.
Wow.
But they have amazing coastlines there, and one of the coastlines, what's kind of known as the Praia de Pipa Dolphin Bay, but it's a really big cove, really wide, and it's beautiful. You can go and swim there. We were told you can maybe catch turtles there. You can see dolphins swim. And we got to that beach, and then we just ended up bumping into our other friends that we must have made in Rio de Janeiro, just other backpacking girls. So it was 4 of us girls thought, let's catch up on our trip. You know, we haven't seen each other because we're going to go our separate ways the next day. So we went into the sea, and it was a bit choppy, but it was nice. It was just like we were jumping the waves. And because we had so much to catch up on, we kind of just jumped and jumped and jumped. And we were then treading water at this point because, you know, it was the waves had kind of taken us. We must have been talking for about 20 minutes. And then I remember turning around to look back at the coast, and it was a thin line.
Oh my God.
And I thought the current had completely taken, I don't bring this too much into the book because I don't want to scare. But the current was so strong. And I always say, never underestimate the sea. The current was so strong. It had pulled us within 5 minutes so far out that when I realized, I was like, guys, we need to swim back to shore. And so we did, but it took us a good 30-35 minutes to get back because you would have the waves that just got bigger and bigger, so they would crash on your head and then they'll pull you back.
That's scary.
And I genuinely thought then, I was like, well, I mean, we didn't have phones then, so this was 2005.
Yeah.
So like an emergency flip phone, which you can only use if you're like, you know, I had £5 credit in there, I think. And I wasn't even carrying it with me. It was in my backpack at the hostel. So I just genuinely thought, that's it. Me and my friends have gone. So many things, and I was, so many things went through my head there.
Sharika, my ask, do you ever think about turning your books into movies? Because I know as a mum, the animation movies are so inspirational, and they send a message, like your books send a message about adventure and being brave and overcoming difficulties, and like you were just saying. And I've come across, you know, things like Happy Feet, and they've got such great messages in them for the kids, haven't they?
Absolutely.
A great way of sending a really wholesome kind of message, not an adults, because adults don't listen to it, do you? So through animation.
I think all the cartoons are made for us.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what is your? Are they children's books or are they children adult books? I mean,
I would say so I'm going to answer both questions, Annie's and Natalie's. So I would say, with Natalie, I'm going to start with you first. I would say the children's books, they're 5 to 11. But having said that, like Annie just touched on with like when you get the movies, the animated movies, they are like kind of for adults. Like so many of my friends or like people in my network have bought them because they want to go to those countries too. So they're like, oh my God, Japan has been #1 on my list. Brazil's been #1 on my list. I want to read it. I want to get the ones I want to read because I want to go to those countries. And then obviously I'm going to read it with my child, or my child's going to read it. So it's kind of, they are 5 to 11.
Do you know what they used to be called, Sharika? It used to be called kidult.
Kidult.
My mum used to say that she never wrote anything for children. She aimed it at the whole family.
Yeah,
that's so true. I feel like I might need to change that a little bit, call it kidult now.
Yeah, kidult.
But absolutely, Annie, I mean, I said, I think E.L. James said this about her 50 Shades of Grey books, but I always said I would be happy if I sold like 5,000 copies and sold that to 5,000 kids in the UK. Like that is, you know, at least going to some kids out there to give them some inspiration, some empowerment and adventure in their life. And, you know, there's a lot of learnings and strong messaging in the book, especially about being a strong girl as well. But these are for boys as well. And I think boys should also read them. I think it's really important. But I also then had that vision of like, well, I'd love for it to be a Disney character. Because there isn't really any strong South Asian, Indian cat, and you don't count Pocahontas or Princess Jasmine as like a strong South Indian Asian character, or even British born. We don't even have to play with the British thing, to be honest with you. It's just an Indian girl. who is the center of all these travels and adventures that she does. And I think it would do really well. But it's also like I've self-published this. I've not gone through a traditional publisher. So I'm learning this industry.
I was just going to ask you that.
That's good. That's good, because now I went on a writer's course, well, a couple actually, retreats, and I was mentored by people who were published, and they said that nowadays to self-publish is good because, you know, you have that freedom, and there's no, you know, it used to be, oh, that self-published, but now it's the thing.
Yes, absolutely. And I just had my book launch event on Thursday.
Why weren't we there?
Hello.
I know. So I literally, like, this all came up really last. Otherwise, I definitely would have invited you.
Oh,
Thursday. It was just friends and family, because obviously I don't know the literary world, right? So it was a very intimate event with 40 people, and just to celebrate that I'd actually published the books myself. And also, you wear all the other hats. It's like running a business, right? And this is where my finance side and my business side comes in, because you're being your own agent, really.
Yeah.
You're doing the PR, you're doing the marketing, all the socials, organizing the actual event. And I did have a PR company, Cameron PR and marketing, and obviously Debbie, you know, has been really, really helpful. But you still, me as a person, I still have to do all of that. I still have to do the writing with the magazines and the promotion side of it and stuff. So the help has been amazing, but you are literally full time playing, I don't know, 5, 6 different, 10 different hats at a go. So
I can relate to that.
Yeah, same here.
Do you have an amazing illustrator?
Yes. She's based in Spain. Her name is Tula Corti. So a big shout out to Tula. And actually my editing team, they're under an umbrella called Condor Publishing. They're brilliant. My editor's based in Norwich, Stephen Moore, who's brilliant. And Tula has literally just bought all of the images and experiences and everything I've had in my head and that I've experienced.
No.
She is literally brought to light. So it was interesting because I did images of pre-images of like what I kind of wanted Maya to look like, and I said, here you go, this is kind of roughly what I'm thinking. Can you make her a bit real? And she's done. It's so vivid. The books are so vivid with the imagery. It's eye-catching, I think.
They are.
Wow.
I wish I discovered them earlier. My children are all grown up now, but they're
they're kidults. I mean, when I first read Harry Potter, when Harry Potter first came out, I remember reading it for my youngest daughter, and I remember sitting on the floor, and she was actually probably too young for it anyway. She was probably only about 4 or something at the time, but sitting on the floor in her bedroom reading her this book. And the next thing I remember is my husband coming in, and I was completely asleep, and I just couldn't stop reading it. And he must come in at 5 o'clock in the morning and found me sitting up with this book. And from then on, and then I remember going on the train, going up to town to do something. And all these people, everybody was, all the commuters were reading Harry Potter.
Amazing.
And they, you know, old, young, everybody. It was one of those books that just captured you, wasn't it?
When they were filming the first movie, it was actually, because my parents live very close to Leavesden Studios in Watford, and they were filming the first one on the road. We have a close, and if you go down the bottom of the road, that was where they were using that house where he was under the
stairs.
Under the stairs. And I remember coming back from school thinking I could see all the cameras and everything. I was like, oh, what's going on there? And we did get something through the post saying, you know, they're looking for extras in the local area. I think I remember it was like, you know, this size kind of note. Like,
did you go, Sharika?
No, because I said to my parents, I was like, can I this looks interesting. And they were like, no, you need to concentrate on your studies. But interestingly, this is like, it touches on another interesting subject about South Asians, British South Asians growing up. Like, we were told by our parents in my generation, really got to concentrate on your studies, and really pushed us down the STEM route, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think it's amazing. I did a maths degree. I went into banking and financial services, and I've done very well off the back of that. But there's so many of us in our generation that will probably maybe even were more creative, but were told to go down that because it was just too risky to go down. the creative route. So they're like, you know, be the doctor, be the dentist, be the banker, you know, and then if you want to do the thing on the side, just do it on the side. But your main career needs to be this. You need to be stable. And I think it's a shame because there's so many people who are now stuck in an industry that they really don't enjoy. Some do and love it, but some are, you can see, they had that creative flow. And you're starting to see a bit of a shift in people getting kind of using or doing a bit of a side hustle with their creative powers or creative skills that they kind of probably always had, but they just never been able to utilize. Some are going into writing poems, and I'm also doing other creative projects like producing documentary or podcasting and stuff. But these are all things I feel like I have a voice now, and I've always had this in me. I just never got to use it when I was in finance.
I
also perhaps it wasn't the right, you know, the thing is that you have that experience behind you, and that for you is what you needed. I mean, with us, you know, because we've been in the entertainment, well, not Annie's different, but me, Dee and Nat have been in the entertainment industry since we were, you know, teenagers, really. And so we can't do anything else, can we? No.
Well, I can relate to Sharika, because like I say, my grandmother, we're a very traditional West Indian family, and it's about education, very, very important. My mother and all about education. And I studied dance back in the day for 14 years, and my grandmother couldn't understand why I wanted to dance and not get a proper job. And that's what she used to say: get a proper job. You know, so they didn't really
still say that. Huh? To this day, they're like, you've done amazing. They're so proud of me on the books, but they're like, but you're going to go back into finance, though, aren't you?
Yeah, it's such a shame, because hence it took me about 30 years to go back being who I wanted to be in the first place. It's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I do think, I mean, my kids are both in the business as well, but they had a really good education. I had a really good education. I went to public school and, you know, did all the right things, but at 18, you know, that was it. I just went, and as my kids have too, and Natalie's, and I think that once that's in you, as far as we're concerned, it's just something. And also, I suppose Natalie and my kids and Dee's kids, they have the advantage that we have. You know, they've got parents in our business, in our industry, so we kind of know the pitfalls, and we also know that if you're that determined, you'll do it anyway. So there's not much point in trying to talk you out of it, is there?
Yeah.
Where can we get the book?
They're available on Amazon. They're available directly on my website. I'm starting to sell at bookstores in Kensington, Fulham Libraries, Notting Hill, and there's more to come. We're trying to kind of get them stocked.
Well, we will put the information. Yeah, we'll put the information on the show so our viewers can find your books.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much, everyone.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Isn't she great?
She's amazing, inspirational.
I think she's going to be in the next big thing. Her books are amazing.
I agree. I've got that feeling about her.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, sometimes you feel that from people, don't you? That you know, yes, it's going to happen for you. It's happening for you.
Our water keeps flowing around over.
Yeah.
Quite right.
Actually, our river won't be going anywhere because Hass. I know. Stop.
Hass just said,
stop.
Where is he?
He who controls us.
Yes.
He who is the master of Wonderbirds. We have to. Oh, Hass, our love, we will stop now, and we will see you next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Love to see you. Bye.